Hello and welcome to this Local Government Association Digital Presentation Skills, a workshop for councillors, providing tips and advice for using live video and recorded video for presentation for councillors. So I'm your host, Darren Caveney of Comms 2.0. And first off, thanks to the Local Government Association for asking me to create this workshop. I think it's an important one for councillors. And thanks generally to the Local Government Association, who've been providing some really fantastic resources and advice and skills daily as we've gone through COVID during the past 5 or 6 months. So thanks very much for that. And hopefully this is another useful resource. So that's me, Darren Caveney. I'll run through the agenda first. I'll give a little quick intro about myself so you know who I am, my background. We'll cover what the brief is. So the brief from the Local Government Association, which has come very much from councillors as a requirement, kind of a skill that has been identified, which more and more councillors really need to be competent and skilled and confident in as we carry on through COVID. We'll look at some of the main platforms. We'll talk about preparation, getting ready to present. We'll look at practice, because we all know that practice makes perfect. Delivery and telling your story well. So we'll run through how to do that and some top tips for telling your story confidently and telling it well. And then finally, we'll look at evaluation, because as always, it's important to assess how it went and how we can improve things for next time. So the workshop will last around about 25 minutes. There will also be made available by the Local Government Association a short guide PDF, which will be a little aid memoir for the next time that you're running one of your own video presentations. So hopefully, again, that's a useful resource for you too. So a little bit about me. I've worked in communications, PR and marketing for 24 years. I was a head of communications in local government for 10 years. So hopefully you know a little bit about your world. I was a director of communications in the NHS as well. 5 years ago, I set up my own consultancy, and about 60 to 70% of my consultancy work and training is still with local government. So local government is kind of my preferred area of communications and engagement. I've worked now with over 50 councils up and down the UK, everything from running social media training for councillors to strategy surgeries for communications teams. So hopefully I know a reasonable amount about local government and some of the challenges that you all face. So the remit from the Local Government Association was very clear. So the brief effectively is to create and record webinar content aimed at providing advice and support to councillors navigating online interviews. Clearly, since lockdown, councillors are having to work with a wide range of platforms for video calls, for meetings, for Q&As, for discussions. And there's a whole range of platforms out there, and we'll run through them, everything from Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Teams, Skype, and even WhatsApp. So clearly some of you will already be very competent in this area, others may be a little bit less so. So hopefully this resource and training workshop will be useful to all of you in some way, shape or form. The webinar aims to boost your confidence and to lay out simply the elements to consider when wanting to build and maintain effective online profile and presentation during video calls. So the context, clearly COVID came along, didn't it, in January, February this year, and then lockdown in March of 2020. Our use of video calls has skyrocketed for all of us. The number of UK users of video for meetings and for presentations has doubled since March. And the biggest growth has been seen by Zoom. It's grown from 659,000 users in February in the UK to, would you believe, 13 million. That's a rise of almost 2,000% since February. So incredible growth there. And those stats come from the communications regulator, Ofcom. So they're very latest stats hot off the press. So let's look at some of the platforms. Some of them you may be familiar with, maybe others a little bit less so. We're going to start off with Zoom. This video here, this workshop was created using Zoom. It can be used for a number of different uses. So clearly for video calls, for webinars like this one here. It can be used to record video content. So we're recording this session here so you can watch it back in your leisure. You can allow users to share documents. So obviously I'm sharing this PowerPoint presentation with you, which is a really simple, but I think effective way to run video presentations. As with many of the platforms, there are free and paid for options. The free option is great. It allows you limitless time for one-to-one calls. But if you want more than 2 people on the call, the free option will limit you to 40 minutes for group calls. So there's a couple of paid for options. One is the £11.99 a month option, which is the one I'm currently using. There are also corporate memberships as well, which your council may actually already have undertaken. As we've said with those stats, it's become massively popular during lockdown. 13 million users, that's about a quarter of the UK population, so incredibly popular. In the early days, there were some concerns around security issues with Zoom. Zoom is owned by a Chinese company, but actually a lot of those have been overcome now. And in fact, when Parliament returned during lockdown, they actually used Zoom to broadcast live from the House itself. So some reassurance there, I think. The next one we'll look at is Microsoft Teams, which many of you may have used. Microsoft is part of, Teams, is part of Microsoft's suite of products. You can use it for chat, you can use it for video meetings. There's lots of collaboration tools, as you'd imagine, with a Microsoft product. It offers the ability to work live on projects with your colleagues and fellow councillors. Again, it allows you to share documents on screen. There's a free version, which if you've got Microsoft, you'll be able to access. There is also an enhanced version via Microsoft 365. There's a corporate subscription there, which I know many councils now have. And some councils have embedded Microsoft Teams as their preferred choice. Third option we'll look at is Google Meet. This is Google's offer in the video market. It used to be known as Google Hangouts, so some of you may remember Google Hangouts from back in the day. If you have a Google account, you can host up to 100 participants for up to 60 minutes, which is very useful. It works on any device, whether you prefer to use PC, laptop, or smartphone. Again, it allows users to share documents on screen. It's free to use. It integrates with other Google tools and platforms. So if Google and its suite of products is your preferred choice, then this may be an option for you. Again, there are paid for options which give you enhanced meeting features and extended durations for meetings. So that's Google Meet. Next one up is Skype, which many of you perhaps have used previously. This is another Windows offering. Microsoft procured Skype a couple of years ago. Clearly, again, you can use it for video chat and for voice calls. It's free to use, which again is useful. There are some extra added features which you can pay for. It can be used very consistently across PC, laptop, and smartphone. You need to create an account, but Microsoft has been making this easier to use, and particularly this year during lockdown. I mean, effectively, it was once the go-to video platform, but I think, from the figures that we've seen, others have overtaken it recently. But Skype is another one for you to consider. And finally, WhatsApp. I've included this in here because many councillors I know use WhatsApp for chat and for group chats with your fellow councillors. It's a really useful chat forum for many uses. So I've included it here as well. As you'll probably know, WhatsApp is owned by Facebook. It's a messaging platform, so you can do everything from simple text messages, or you can use it to share video and images. There are over 1.5 billion users worldwide, so it's about a quarter of the world population, so a huge number of registered users. It's an app which needs to be installed on your smartphone, so you can use it for Android or for iPhone. Probably better for one-to-one chats and live video than groups. Obviously, you can use it for voice calls. And probably smartphone is your best option. You kind of can use it on laptops and tablets, but it does work best on smartphone in my experience. So that's kind of WhatsApp as another option. So preparation and getting ready to present. I would say try all the platforms out. You may already have a preferred option. Your council and the IT team there may already have suggested a preferred option. In my experience of talking to teams up and down the country at councils, it is quite mixed. You know, just in the past fortnight, I've used talking to council teams, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and Google Meet. So there is an array out there being used. I would say try them out and find out which one you prefer, which one you're most comfortable with. Once you've done that, think about the kit. What will you use for your presentation or for your interview or for your discussion? Will you use your laptop? Will you use your smartphone if you're out and about on location? Laptop's probably good if you're at home, but obviously sometimes, you know, you might get an urgent media inquiry, or, you know, you might be required for an urgent meeting or a discussion on an issue that's come up. So you might need to do that out and about on location on your smartphone. If you're at home and indeed, you know, out on location, think about lighting. Hopefully the lighting here, I've tried to set it so it's not too bright and not too dark. You don't want to glare, you know, in terms of your viewers and the people that are watching the video. Equally, you don't want to appear as a dark silhouette. So play around with the lighting and try and come to a happy medium with the lighting that you've got. Think about sound. Hopefully the sound here works well. Try and think about, sometimes when we do presentations on video, perhaps in council offices, sometimes there's a lack of soft surfaces and soft furnishings, and actually they work really well. If you think about the old radio sound booths, they were padded. So as somebody once said, fabric is your friend when it comes to recording. So think about using a room that's got lots of fabric or curtains or cushions. Sound, again, do you prefer to use headphones or earphones? That can be an option. Some people prefer it, some don't. But again, play around with that. Have a go with both, with and without. This is an important one. Sit as near to your Wi-Fi router as you can. It really can make a difference. You know, if you're miles away in the house, away from the Wi-Fi router, you can get really intermittent Wi-Fi coverage. And if you're doing a live recording or a live media interview, you really don't want that to happen. So, you know, place yourself as near to your Wi-Fi router as you can, or maybe think about investing in a Wi-Fi booster if you think you've got problems in the home. I always do this and absolutely recommend it. I've got some with me here today. Make some short, written, easy to read notes about what you want to say and your most important points. Make sure you get them across in your interview or in your discussion. And think about timings. How long have you got? Is that in your gift, or is it a media interview where you might get 60 seconds? Just think about the duration you've got and how quickly you're going to have to move and act to get your really most important top 3 points across. And if it is a media interview and, you know, your comms team will help you with this, just think about what are the tricky questions the media might ask you, and have, you know, think about it in advance and have some, you know, pre-prepared answers for that. Clearly, you still need to be flexible because you might be left-footed with a question that you weren't expecting, but you can probably second-guess most of the questions that will come in from the media. So think about your answers in advance and have them jotted down as an aid if it's useful. Practice makes perfect. We know that, don't we? So think about practicing as much as you can. For some of you, you may already have done a lot of this through lockdown, but for all of us, you know, we're using video every week now, aren't we? But practice helps all of us. You know, I practiced this today, so hopefully this comes across well for yourselves. But once you've decided which platform to use, think about, is it in your gift to choose? The media may impose a platform for you to use. Your colleagues in the IT team may have a preferred option that you use, but if it's in your gift, push for the one that you're most comfortable with, whether that's Zoom or Microsoft Teams. As I say, get your key messages prepared and have them on notes, you know, close to you so you can see them during the video call itself. I think it's a really great idea to rehearse the video call. So maybe get a friend or a colleague counsellor to do a dummy run of the interview, go through it, get grilled by a colleague. It's really, really good practice. And then afterwards, get them to critique your performance and have a really close think about what works and what doesn't. And then you can really refine it for when you do it for real. Again, practice it a second time if it makes sense. I think confidence is key here, isn't it? We all, will be feeling more confident if we practiced. It helps build our confidence and our familiarity in what we're going to present and the type of questions we may be asked. Delivery and telling your story well, this really is important. So think about, what's the reason for the call? Is it a meeting with colleagues? It could be a presentation to local residents or local businesses. As I say, it could be a media interview, it could be a discussion with residents, it could be a live question and answer session. So many options for how we might use video these days. I think for you as councillors, it's what do you want to achieve from the call? What's your outcome? What do you want the call to have achieved? And what do you want your audience to do as a result? And how can they do this? So give really clear calls to action. So if you want your residents to maybe go and sign up for a new online service or to give feedback on a new service, make that really clear in your call to action. I would limit to a maximum of 3 key messages. The brain tends to struggle with remembering anything more than 3. So what are your top 3 key messages that you want your audience to go away with, and keep them as simple as possible and as memorable as possible. Don't forget also, this is a two-way medium, and listening is so, so important. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and you could argue perhaps for a reason. So have a really good think about, this is an opportunity for you to get get feedback from your residents and from your businesses. So really do take up that opportunity. Think also too about how you'll capture the notes. You can record the session. So we're recording this session here today. You could record yours, but make that clear to your audience that you are recording the session. You may take down some scribbled notes, or you may have a colleague sat with you who's capturing notes. Lots of ways of doing it. I think once you're confident with the platforms, platforms like Zoom and others allow you to run live polls, so you can ask questions of your audience. You can run a live question and answer session too. So there's lots of flexibility to make the chat as interesting and as real life as you can. Clearly, you'd all probably be in the council chamber having this as a face-to-face chat, but given where we are with COVID and there's no end in sight just yet, make your video experience as real life and as helpful and as two-way and as interactive as you possibly can for your audience. Evaluation and how did it go? As always with all of our work, it's really important, isn't it, to evaluate how it went. I mean, for me, be quite honest, score yourself out of 10. How did it go? How would you rate yourself? What went well? What went less well? What would you do differently next time? And again, I'd make some notes while it's fresh in your head about what you would do differently, and keep those notes, use them for next time. If you recorded it, watch and listen back to yourself. Now, I know some of you won't like to do that. None of us likes the sound of our own voice when we play these things back, but actually it's a really valuable resource. Go back, have a listen. Do you have any little quirks, little things that you repeat? Things that you do? Do you scratch your face whilst you're presenting? We all have little personal quirks, and I think watching it back will really make it more apparent to you what yours might be. So, question as well, did you deliver your main points? Did you deliver the outcomes that you wanted to? Did you get your top 3 key messages across? But also in terms of the evaluation, how many people attended your video session? Did they share feedback and have a look through that? And again, you probably get colleagues to watch back as well and get them to critique and provide some feedback on your performance. So, don't be too tough on yourself. We're all, learning as we go with video and live presentation, and all of us can improve. But yeah, so don't beat yourself up too much about how you think you performed. The more you do it, the more confident and the more competent you will become. So as a recap, my top takeaways for digital presentation skills on video: choose the platform you prefer and try and stick to that one as much as possible. Really build up your confidence and your skills. Keep practicing, do this stuff weekly. It really does help. Always do your prep and have some notes at hand to help you. So if your mind does go blank as you're midway through a sentence, you've got some notes to refer to. Tell your story well. And take the opportunity to listen and get that feedback from your local residents, your local businesses and your local stakeholders. It's a really great opportunity to hear their thoughts on the services that you're delivering. Review your session and make some changes for next time wherever possible. But for me, local government does an amazing job, and this is your chance to share your story. We know from local government association trust and satisfaction surveys that trust and satisfaction is at an all-time high right now. You've all been doing an incredible job during lockdown and during COVID-19. So, be confident and share your story. Deliver your story well and enjoy it. That's it from me. I hope this has been useful. Thank you for your time. Don't forget there is a little aid memoir, the PDF that the LGA will be sharing with you if that's useful. And there's more information available on the Local Government Association website. There's 3 links there. And really do, the LGA, as I say, are sharing links and resources every week. So do make sure that you're checking out the Local Government Association website on a regular basis. Thank you for your time. Thank you also for what you're doing in local government. For us as residents, you're providing some invaluable services and really supporting our most vulnerable customers during this difficult time. I certainly appreciate what you do, and I know many others do as well. So thank you for what you do. Good luck with your future video sessions, and be confident and tell your story well. Thank you.